Welcome to Pathways to Success, a program that supports micro, small, and medium enterprises here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Our guest for today is an extraordinary individual who has achieved great success in the entrepreneurial world. He has made a notable impact as a TV personality and journalist. He has authored books, hosted many events, and even serves as a consul of Monaco to the Philippines. For small and medium enterprises, he has provided valuable guidance as a business mentor for Go Negosyo. Alongside these accomplishments, he played a pivotal role as the co-founder of EnterPH, EasyFranchise, and Mercato Centrale. We are honored to have on the show the man behind the country's premier food and lifestyle night market, Mercato Centrale, RJ Ledesma. Good morning, RJ.
Mai, thanks so much. It's truly a pleasure to be here on the Billionaire News Channel and great to be interviewed by you.
Yes, good to have you here. I'm sure you're used to those long introductions. Given your many accomplishments.
I'm very thankful, very humbled, but it's something that I like to share, not so much for myself, but rather so that it informs people as to how I interact with them. What can I do for you after you find out what I do? How can I give back to you and see what we can do together or how we can collaborate?
Yes, I'm sure we will learn so much from you today. You wear many hats, a media personality, columnist, author, motivational speaker, mentor. But let's start from the very beginning. What made you decide that you want to become an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest entrepreneurial influence for myself was really my dad. My late dad, Consul Ledesma. He was a serial entrepreneur himself. And even as a young boy, he would expose me to doing business. He's one of those, that my dad exactly did. Hi Dad, how are you doing up there in heaven? He had video rental businesses, may Laserdisc ba yan, may Betamax, may VHS. He did prawn farming, he did encyclopedia selling. So I guess that really instilled in me that desire to learn how to become an entrepreneur or, to have that hustle, to go out and look for different opportunities. And he gave to me what I call the entrepreneurial mindset. And what exactly do I mean by the entrepreneurial mindset? Because usually when we look at the world and we're not entrepreneurs, it's like, especially during COVID, right? Let's say, for example, you approach COVID and you weren't wearing your entrepreneurial lens and you look at things, you'll go, oh my goodness, it's very scary because there's social distancing, there's a lockdown, there's a disruption in the supply chain. What does an entrepreneur do? He wears his entrepreneurial lens and he looks at the world through a lens of opportunity. What he's seeing is this one. He's not seeing social distancing. He's seeing what are the business opportunities present because of social distancing? What are the business opportunities present because of the lockdown? What are the business opportunities present because of the disruption in the supply chain? And that's exactly how an entrepreneur thinks. His job is to create opportunities or solve problems which nobody's really looking into.
Right. And we will certainly talk about the challenges during the pandemic for you and Mercato, but also let's talk about the birth of Mercato Centrale. How was this conceptualized?
Okay, so it actually was born when my wife and I went to visit during our honeymoon. So we were going around Italy and we ended up in Florence. But great timing, the picture. Yeah, so we were there, we were going to Florence picture. After that, exactly in that market. When we were there, there was a great experience where we were getting free food samples and getting to meet the vendors. And we said, how can we sort of transport this experience that we had here in Italy back to the Philippines?
Yes.
And on top of that, just like you, I'm a TV journalist. And many times, they would send us to different countries to write about them, media familiarization tours. And one of they would even bring us to Taiwan. And where would be the first place they would bring us to? To the food markets. Like you go to Shilin in Taiwan, you go to Lau Pa Sat in Singapore, you go to Chatuchak in Thailand, and you go, how come in the Philippines there is no equivalent for these type of night food markets which are safe and hygienic, where both the locals and the foreigners can congregate and talk about? So those two ideas gave birth to the idea of creating a Mercato Centrale.
So you brought that all together here in the Philippines, like sampling food from different regions and perhaps different countries, Southeast Asia or even Europe. So Mercato Centrale is not just putting together all these food stalls, but it is also a food business incubator. Explain that to us.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you often do business, you ask yourself, you start with why. Remember, Simon Sinek talks about start with why. What's your higher purpose for doing that business? And as we were doing the business, this is what we realized about working together with vendors. And that's our Mercato Food Academy right there, where we help small food vendors grow. But it's really the idea that we realize that many of these entrepreneurs, really great ideas, they're either passionate about creating food, but they don't have the skill sets to maintain a sustainable business, or some people want to get into food, but the food isn't passionate enough. We realized that there's an opportunity to calibrate and improve their skill sets. So when we said that one, in the process of creating food entrepreneurs, it's not enough. If we want a sustainable business for ourselves, we also need to create a sustainable business model for the people who we work together with. And that's why we call it a small food business incubator, because our job is not just to provide great venues for them to be able to market their food products in areas where otherwise they wouldn't have that opportunity, but more importantly, to help them with their skill sets, to help them develop in terms of sales, in terms of operations, in terms of finance.
This is where Mercato Academy comes in.
That's right.
Tell us, is this a short course or is this an event seminar?
Okay,
what is it?
Really great question. Actually, we created that course because we had a contest pre-pandemic called the Next Big Food Entrepreneur. And in this contest, the winner would get a 6-month free stay in the market, plus cash sponsorships, IT equipment, computers, to run their business. And to prepare for that one,
like
really great. I really loved it because we were influenced by watching all these shows on TV like Shark Tank, where you have a competition. So in preparation for the competition, we did a food academy, and there we would get people from different disciplines to teach them about social media marketing, about, like, for example, this was Unilever, our friends from Unilever, they were teaching how to create, let's say, good pricing for the products, how to create a unique food product. So all these different things, all these different disciplines, to make the business the higher probability for the success and become sustainable. So that's where the genesis came from for the Mercato Food Academy. So prior to the pandemic, we were doing competitions, the Next Big Food Entrepreneur. In the pandemic, of course, it came to a halt, but we found an opportunity to bring that online. And we were holding Zoom sessions online for people to learn, because remember, everybody at home, if they needed to have a business to sustain themselves, and food was the lowest hanging fruit. And so that's why we came up with the Mercato Food Academy online. Now that we're post-pandemic, much of what we do is really mentorship of the people who join us, because we've already gathered a body of knowledge, knowing more or less what will make things stick. How do we make sure that you're successful? We know what should be the average price point. We know more or less how much inventory you should have. We're able to advise you on how to market yourselves online. So we're doing more of a mentorship basis. Now we're going to move on to going back to doing an academy. Hopefully we get to work together with the Billionaire News Channel. And Mai, if you want to be a mentor, you're more than happy to have you.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, we will get more business advice from you. But for those curious, is it possible if you're a startup with without enough capital, is it possible for them to be a merchant in Mercato, or like possibly join Mercato Academy and
really
do
great
training?
question. We'll be having free academies in the near future, so they're more than welcome to join those academies. And also, if there is somebody who wants to be able to join the market, but they don't have enough capital, if you have a truly unique food concept, and I'll be discussing that after the break, if you have a truly unique food concept, and we call it something, your secret sauce, what can you deliver that nobody else can deliver, right?
Secret sauce concept, yes.
And if you're able to deliver on a concept that nobody has, maybe you have a specific skill set, access to materials, access to resources that nobody else has, right? And then we're happy to have you, we're happy to come up with an arrangement for you to come on board. What's very important for us to also realize over the years is that when we have merchants, whether big or small, is that they have to put in a little bit of capital. You have to have a bit of the skin in the game, because if we give you totally free, sometimes they don't appreciate that. They go, okay, I didn't put any money in, therefore I don't really have to give my best effort, or there's no stake for me involved. We find that even if you are a small vendor and you have a small stake involved, whatever it is, some skin in the game, then you seem to perform much, much better.
Okay, that is good. We will talk more about that, and when we come back, we'll find out what it takes to become a merchant in Mercato Central. Stay with us. Pathways to Success. We'll be right back.
Then, fast forward a few months later, I remember standing in the middle of a rush of people coming to Mercato who were patronizing our food vendors, and I had this big smile on my face. And I was thinking, wow, is this actually for real? What we thought of is now reality? For me, this award reaffirms Mercato's commitment to supporting the growth of food business entrepreneurship, job creation, and inclusive business models in our country.
So this is three installations, pavilions that are inspired by the Barbie Dream House, and the playfulness and all the colors that comes with the Barbie universe, and Greater Palm Springs. So here we are in a cactus garden. We went to visit Palm Spring for the research and was very inspired by the landscape, and particularly because we are in the desert, so there are a lot of wonderful cactuses, and all the private gardens will have cactuses.
Oh, really special, because it's an iconic structure. I mean, I remember my sister's Barbie house when I was a kid, and you know, lots of children's toys don't go for modernism. And my lasting memory is Barbie as a modernist. You know, so the combination of that and Palm Springs, where there's some of the great mid-century modern houses, is absolutely perfect for us. It's, you know, it's telling a design story in a very different way.
Welcome back to Pathways to Success. Still with us, RJ Ledesma, owner of the country's premier night food market, Mercato Centrale. That video is making me crave for all the food in Mercato.
Then we're doing our job right.
So how many vendors do you have right now
Well,
in
currently
Mercato?
we have about 5 ongoing markets and maybe about 15 to 20 vendors per market. So it's about 200 vendors we have per market. And just to clarify, over the years, over the past 15 years we've been running the business, we have opened almost about 200 markets. Some have been seasonal, some have been temporary, some have opened and closed, some have been successful or limited success. And we're glad to have helped out over 1,000, 1,500 vendors over the years who've become very big right now, and I'm very happy to see their success.
They have graduated, you know, your success stories, and congratulations for that, because you were instrumental in their success as well. So now, how to become a merchant in Mercato? Is there a criteria?
Well,
and you have taste test Tuesdays.
Yes.
Does that still happen?
Well, not anymore just on Tuesdays. It's whenever they're available to show up in the market. So it's very easy. All you have to do for those who are interested is that they just have to go to our website, to our Facebook page rather, and they just send in a message to us and say, I want to be a merchant. When are your taste tests? And what we do is they come over and we're able to, like that one, we evaluate each of the different products, because what we often find is that although some people have the entrepreneurial drive, sometimes there's an opportunity for always to tell them how to make your product a bit more unique. In marketing, you call that your unique selling proposition. But for us, we often call that the secret sauce.
Your secret sauce.
And just to explain a bit more, I often give this example when I give my entrepreneurial talks. Let's say, for example, when you want to eat fried chicken, you go to a specific restaurant because they have this unleashed sauce. Their gravy is their secret sauce because it's their unique gravy mix that people go for over there. We ask you, what is your secret sauce? What is your unique gravy in your business? Because sometimes sa Pilipinas, sausawan yan. Ulam na yan, di ba? So maybe it's your sauce that's special, or maybe you were an OFW who worked abroad, you learned an authentic way to make a specific cuisine. That's your secret sauce. Or if you're able to combine you're learning from abroad with your local flavor and,
Make it
infuse that and make it
Filipino.
Filipino. That's your secret sauce. Or maybe there was a heritage or heirloom food which you had, which you can turn into a secret sauce. That's great. Like for this ensaymada, for example. Is there ensaymada that you can have a bit of a show? For example, you have a torch and you torch the cheese onto the ensaymada, or it's partly savory, partly sweet. These are the type of things that you want to be able to create, and that's what makes you stand out in the market. Because you have to realize, in an outdoor market, it's out of showmanship, diba? You're 20 vendors, people will pass you by. In 3 to 5 seconds, you have to call their attention. Diba? What do you do to do that one? And that's the secret sauce plus showmanship.
And I remember that is what sticks, no? Like for the success stories, they have a story. Maybe it's the heirloom recipe.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Before we had the World Street Food Festival over here in the Philippines, and when we did that one, if you looked across the different stalls, you realized that people were not just eating the food, they were also eating the stories behind the food, because there were stalls from Indonesia, from the States, from different parts of the world. And how could you tell them apart? You could tell them apart by the stories that they tell. Haven't you seen some of these places like the kopitiams? Like I go a lot to free plug into Yakung Kaya Toast. I enjoy going there because I read the stories of the founder of this one came from China. He developed this recipe.
Mga heritage brands also.
Heritage brands.
Yes.
So that's what people like to read. They like to hear the story. For example, you grew up eating this type of food, and this is your own interpretation of this food. That's what people like to see and hear when they come to these places. And of course, the smoke is the most important thing. Kung hindi ka lalabas na Mercato Centrale na hindi ka amoy street food, hindi ka nag-Mercato Centrale.
That's true. Well, in choosing from so many vendors though in Mercato, how do you make sure that they don't compete with each other, and how do you make sure that they also make a profit?
Okay. We actually regulate the number of vendors who come to the market, and also the types of food that have come to the market. We also know the type of price points which they have. And the idea is that when people come over there, it's not a 1-0 game. People can order from one vendor and another vendor and another vendor, right? So it's not actually competing, they complement each other. You go to a food market not because you find one vendor, you go to a food market because you find 15 different types of vendors who are there participating at the same time. So they really complement.
So
and
not
sometimes,
one is alike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for example, there are 2 street food vendors. They've got different concoctions and recipes for that one. So actually now you're enjoying the fact that you're able to enjoy it in one space. And that's the beauty and the joy of coming to a food market. Because let's say you go to Taiwan or these other food markets, it's almost same setup. They have some similar foods, but each one has got something a little bit unique.
Yeah. So share with us the success stories. We want to hear about those who have graduated, who started with Mercato and have grown their business.
I'm very happy to share many stories. One that comes to prominent, very, very prominent for me, is the story of Mama Luz, of David Season and Cristal Season. I know Mama Luz is such big right now. They've got Mama Luz out there in different areas. But what's nice about that is that when they were doing Mama Luz in Parañaque, which is their pilot store, they were also testing their new recipes in Mercato Central. So they would be there. I remember, Cristal, the owner of Mama Luz, there, showing, testing out different recipes, and finally they were able to, gain some great ideas. After that one, they grew Mama Luz to really great pizza business, pizza and pasta business. The other one is, of course, Thai Mango. Thai Mango really love her story. She would come. She was a sous chef in a big hotel, and her dream was to bring home her mom, who was an OFW for most of their lives, back to the Philippines, and she would do that with her business. And literally, what happened over there was that she would come in a taxi and come over here to just set up her equipment. And what she really just had was the skill set to create a really great recipe, and that was her Thai mango dessert. The Thai sticky rice. But this is her own dessert that she created for Thai mango. Chef Kim Bakiano, I hope you're listening right now, Chef Kim. So, her business became the most successful one over there because, she had that secret sauce of creating really, really great recipes for that area. One that I'm also very proud of, one of our early pioneers. I don't know if you've ever been to in Boracay, but if you know the Coco Mama people as well, and Sunnyside Cafe, the couple behind that one, very successful. They started off their first set of products there, which was to create mochi ice cream. And although that concept is no longer here, I'm happy to think that they gained a lot of skill sets and learnings about the market, which they're able to use to grow their future, to grow their business right now. And we've got people like Mary Moo out there. We've got people like Tokyo Tempura out there. So all these people really started off from us. And even Pedal Cafe, Bagwing, Swados. And I'm hoping to create the next set of entrepreneurs
Yes.
again. So if anybody's listening here right now, Mai, if your son, who's 11 years old, wants to create something interesting, we're happy to have him there and test out as well.
That is something to try, certainly. And we will talk about more of the success stories, but we have to take a quick break. Up next, RJ will share the huge challenges he had to overcome and what's in store for the future. We'll be right back. Health and wellness, it's experimental.
Because I like the idea of a salmon sperm DNA on my face.
Beauty, it's experimental.
Oh my God! My wrinkles, I didn't know!
Even fashion, it's experimental. We're here to dive into the trends and explore the taboos and the daring. We're not just talking about it, we're testing it. It's like our laboratory. It's the Lifestyle Lab.
Simulan na natin ang agenda. Bumulong na ang plenary debate sa national budget para sa 2025.
Mas malamig na aircon at mas malakas na Wi-Fi. Mga pangako ng SMC-led consortium sa operasyon at maintenance ng NAIA.
Maghapon pa rin bang malakas ang ulan dyan sa Dagupan?
Bandang alas 2 ng hapon, bumuhos na nga ang malakas na ulan. Ito ay nagdulot ng pagbaha.
Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
We are back on Pathways to Success. If you've just tuned in, we're with RJ Ledesma, business mentor, motivational speaker, and owner of Mercato Centrale, the country's premier night food market and food business incubator. Of course, RJ, we were talking about success stories, but even for a successful entrepreneur like you have faced so many challenges as well, right? So tell us, what has been the biggest challenge you have faced in the last decade?
Well, first of all successful entrepreneurs that I have interviewed and have known have all gone through their own failures. But I guess the difference here is, how do you perceive your failure? And I guess, failure for me is part of the entire growth mindset, right? You fail because sometimes you have to. You can't be perfect, but more or less, it's what we call your tuition fee. It's your tuition fee to become better in doing business. And I guess that's really it for me, diba? You say, in growth mentality, we keep on telling people, I'm not successful right now, but I will become. I am not successful in business right now, but eventually I will get there.
Yeah.
So
it's how you pick up life lessons.
It's how you perceive things, right? And it's a difficult lesson to learn, but it also humanizes you and humbles you. And I guess one of the biggest things that humbled many of us was obviously the pandemic. So in the pandemic, what had to happen is that because my place was it's an outdoor food market, obviously people had to go there physically to use the place. And I remember very clearly when they shut everything down, when we were asked to go on a lockdown, they said, all places of mass gathering you could not go to. And I was a place of mass gathering, so I had no business. So all of a sudden, all the rental income I was generating from the place disappeared. And I had to pay a very hefty rental. The contract was still ongoing at that time in my location in Bonifacio Global City. So all of a sudden, I was saddled with a big rental, no income coming in. I had to figure out how to make it work. So, of course, and at that point, you were thinking as an owner, first, do I just shut down the business and move on? Or do I really do I practice what I preach and say, what is the solution to the problem that I'm facing here right now? So what would happen is that we turned it into a subsistence market the first time, the outdoor food market, just coming to get your meats and vegetables and fruits. And that didn't pan out. And all of a sudden, because of that, when we finally had to find a way to close the contract of my most successful location. But after that one, we tried to open up smaller markets just to see if they would work. We would try to do online selling for a bit, but it didn't work out because people expect from Mercato Centrale that you could order everything from one place, but here you were ordering from different areas, not just in one place. So that didn't work out. We did online e-commerce. We tried, didn't work. We tried to sell inside apartments in the condominium units where we would see inside our social halls, if we could say that as well. We reached limited success. So we were doing
it was a trial and error
so a
again.
lot of small iterations of failure. But every time that we did this one, we were learning how to work with the IATF. We were learning how do we open markets during this time. And how to work with the small vendors. And because we were able to get people to collaborate at the time, people wanted obviously to work out. The malls, the lessors, the restaurant owners, and the small food vendors. So eventually, we were able to put up the first IATF-approved market, which was in the center of BGC at the time, and the lines there were kilometric, and we had to set things up very well just to make it work.
Final question, RJ, because we ran out of time. Where can they find Mercato now, and plans for the future?
Oh, great! So we've got locations right now in Bridgetown, in Robinson's Bridgetown. We also have in Robinson's Antipolo. We also have in Tiendecitas, and we also have in SM Taytay. And we've got new locations coming up, a lot of, especially for this coming Burr month. So I invite all of you, please go online right now, go to Mercato Centrale if you would like to be able to be part of the market and just apply for the taste test. And we'd love to have you. And of course, eat there. We're looking forward to having you, Mai, and the rest of the BNC team. Please drop by, support our small food vendors, because remember, every time you buy from a small food vendor, you are not only supporting their tuition fee of the kids or their livelihood, but you're helping make their dreams come true and become the next big food entrepreneur.
Thank you for stopping by, RJ. We have learned so much from you. More success to you, more power.
And more success to Pathways to Success.
Thank you for that. That's today's episode. Having a business is not just about earning money. It's about sharing your experience and knowledge and ultimately helping other entrepreneurs grow their business. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Thanks for watching Pathways to Success.
Weekdays on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. BNC, the Billionario News Channel. Always on top. The trailblazers, the disruptors, the titans of the industry.
We should safeguard our tradition.
We've got 53 sites in the Philippines, and each of those sites have been goaled to adopt a community.
Know what drives them as we dig deeper into their stories.
We're also bringing and helping medical tourism.
The government has to support these local farmers.
Industry Beacon on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
The breadth of anime and what it covers is so broad, from romance to action adventure to sci-fi to magical girl. There's something for everybody.